question is what's the difference between people who work with the download and the downloading of codes and the way I work, center to circumference? But before I speak into the difference of that, I think let's speak into the purpose. And what we need to remember is that, we've talked about the earth experience. You come in with memories, the veil drops, you learn the conditioning, and these are all the things we've talked about. And then there's the moment of reawakening. And in that moment of reawakening, however it happens, then that's when you start to transform the threads of the paradigm that you had learned, that you looked outside yourself for your power, and you look for the world to mirror. Okay. So as you transform those, you're able to go deeper into the cosmic consciousness of you, or that divine love of you, and what I call your divine soul knowing, or that origin spark of awareness that consciously is aware of your connection to everything that ever was, is, and is consciously co-creating with all there is. And so this is the part of you that is to the origin source, or the all that thought you into being. And when you eventually deal with that fear of death, which is also the fear of the unknown, what happens after we're gone? And as long as you're wrestling with that, then you're going to be wrestling with the fear of the unknown in a small way. And so, depending on what your personal growth is, it's just really taking the bull by the horns and ride that puppy out until you have faced that fear of death. And I'm not saying accepting it intellectually, I'm talking about in your bones, emotional. And it is transformed so you no longer give a flying rip about it, because you know it is irrelevant in the greater scope of your arc. At that point, and in direct proportion of how much that fear of death is transformed, you're able to remember your experiences before you were born and where you came from. Now, I'm talking about pieces can come to you intellectually, but I'm talking about that really strong stuff where it's like it in the cells of your being, and your emotional world is yes, and it's juicy, crazy yes about it. Owns it 100%. So then you've got all parts of your human experience that is synced and working together, so that as a divine soul having a human experience, it is center to circumference living. And you recognize that that center is infinite. So it will spiral in, infinite within. Okay, so working with that premise, we've got a lot of different, more enlightened beings that are assisting humankind. And those are the ones that are working with the Arcturians or the Palladians, or the different races and species, however you want to use human terminology with our cosmic neighbors. I don't want to get involved in the semantics of that because it's not important. So there are some evolved species that like to work with coding, because the universe is mathematical. And so they use the language of coding. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to download new codes. Okay, so when you're downloading, and it'll go deep into your body and it will register, but it is still coming from the heavens. It's a download. And so then it will spiral to as deep as you're able to receive it in your body. Now, what a lot of these codings will do is they are recoding the emotional world, the DNA world, the intellectual world, the information, what you're able to process. So it's all a really cool, very, very valid way, if it's something that resonates for you, to use divine light that is equally everywhere present, infinite intelligence that knows all things, it created all things, omniscient wisdom that knows how to manage all things for the highest good of all, and omnipotent, all-powerful, unconditional love, pure creation energy that can do all things. So it's a different way of using this all. That is going to have one feeling because it's filtering in and registering. When I'm working, and I'm always saying, relax deeper into your divine soul knowing to go center to circumference, because the basic premise is that you know what you came here to do. You know what your soul contract is. You know where you came from. And you know you on a conscious and subconscious human aspect. And so that light is filtering up and moving out. Center to circumference. And then, like on the fourth step of the basic activation, when you're sending light, all of these different sacred geometry formations that I don't talk about, but the discovery will come to you because you will tell yourself when you're ready to grok that, but you send light to the far reaches of the known universe and beyond, and then it comes back, and it's like in this two-way flow. So it's your known universe and beyond. Okay, so you're going to organically feel the vibrations deep in your body, as opposed to them coming down and moving in. Okay. If you do them both together, especially if you are, this is connected to your soul group, and this is your soul group's way of communicating, and then you do center to circumference, not only will that magnify and amplify the information that you're receiving, but going center to circumference, which is the concept that is coming in from outside this universe. But not coming in outside, coming in from outside the universe, because this universe is nested in a greater universe. And science is now just starting to catch up to that. Okay, so especially if you're doing these downloads from your soul groups or cousin soul groups where they're vibrationally similar, then it's going to spiral down. And if you're working from center to circumference, then it'll magnify, amplify, but also communicate to the soul group to do that. So you'll be assisting your soul group, okay, to take it to the next level. Because you see, with the quantum entanglement, we're all in this together. I can tell you how I experience it differently, but that's who I am at where I am right now with my sum total of experiences. And so the real question is, I think, for anybody who would listen in on the conversation, is for you to have your experience and develop your discernment. Because based on where you are, who you are, what is your origin soul group, how far are you along that transformation spiral of death, all of that is going to be on the mix. So if I were to sum it up, I would say trust the flow.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being interested in learning on how to live your light more fully and freely with emotional freedoms that you haven't even yet begun to dream of, and that gives you the courage and clarity to live your divine soul purpose. Now, just so that I play well with the algorithms here on YouTube, be sure to like the video. Please leave me a comment, because I do love more two-way conversations, and subscribe if you want to stay in touch with any of the new material that I'm putting out there.